I'm just trying not to give you the boob shot.
We don't care.
But so if you guys could all mute your phones, because I can hear people washing dishes or something. And I should mute mine. Hey, okay, guys, I'm on a phone. I'm on a call. Okay. Okay. So let me see. I'm sorry, guys. I have to do this on my phone so I can be anywhere. I don't have an agenda for tonight's call. I thought this would be a good round table time to talk about, any aha moments you've had that you haven't shared, or any questions you have. I know this can be a little esoteric, a little foofy, and maybe in some ways. Hi, you can say hi. Okay, hi. It can be something that it took me. Well, I've been seeing her for 2 years, and she taught my chiropractor, and she taught me the concepts of this. But when I took the class, that's when it kind of really, I got a hold on it. Hi, I love you too. Can you go upstairs? Okay, then we'll hang up. Okay, get ready for bed. So I thought it'd be great if we could touch base. I haven't talked to you guys in a long time. We'd see your faces, et cetera, et cetera. And kind of just, ask questions. We'll just do it one at a time. Just ask questions, whatever you need, et cetera. Is that pretty cool? So whoever wants to go first, just unmute your mic. Everyone else, keep your mics, muted. And Rebecca has been researching this a bit too. So Rebecca, if you feel like jumping in, and anybody who wants to jump in with insights, great, because it's all a learning process.
Okay. I'm all over the board on this.
Yep.
It's your first video. I got it right away, and I'm like, behavior, structure, perception.
Yeah.
And then when you did the little write-up, I was like, oh no, I'm structure, perception, behavior. Okay. And then now your second video, I'm like, okay, perception or behavior is my drink. So I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah, so maybe I should have stuck with one video and one post, right? So what was it in the first video? What was it that made you think you were, I think you said structure.
What I had behavior, because I wrote down notes, I wrote down working out. I'm like, I'm right on that, do it. So, okay, behavior is my keystone. And then I could put to-do list, structure. I'm like, okay, I like the to-do list. I'm not usually great at them, but I like them. And I know visualization I stink at. I'm really terrible at seeing stuff. So that's where I came up with that in the first video. But then when I was reading your notes, I was like, okay, I'm not sure if that's really where I'm at.
So perceptions, I always find it's a little tricky to describe, because it is the way you see things. It is the way you see tasks. It is insight, but it's not just insight. Visualization could actually be a behavior.
Okay.
Because it's something that you're doing. And I think we often sort of just put it in the perception area, because kind of in that mindfulness, wellness, genre. But perception is, okay, I'm gonna see if an example will help. There's something I'm resisting. My thing is to write down all my groups for the rest of the year and plan them out. And I've been resisting it. So tonight I was like, I went in because I was focusing on the behavior of it, of doing it, and I'm perception first. So I went in and said, what's my perception? And my perception is it's a drain. I have to do all this stuff. Oh, I don't like being tied down. There was some fear in there. So I said to my perception, I shifted it to, this may be hard and feel hard at first, but it will change over time. And that is a form of perception. And that helped me take up a structure of, okay, so I'll do it. I'll work on it next Wednesday. I put it on my to-do list for next Wednesday is my work day for a lot of this stuff. I'll put it on my to-do list for next Wednesday. There's my structure, because I'm perception, structure, and then behavior. And then I'll do it then. But I had to shift my perception first in order to put energy into actually getting it done.
Okay. So I think I'm back to where I thought I was initially.
Yeah.
Behavior, structure, perception.
So when you need to change something, when you feel stuck, what do you do? What's your
trying to like think of an example of. Like I like to write stuff that like do have I guess like a to-do list, like, okay, this is the steps I need to do to make a change or what needs to be done. And then I like check things off as I do it.
Yeah. And how does that feel to you?
Good. When I'm checking them off, like, okay, I got 2 out of 5 done. All right, I'm good.
Okay, so it's digging into this, because you're the only one who's going to know which one you are. But it's really your keystone is like the trigger that makes everything else happen. And it's effortless. It's something that you just automatically do, whether it's perception, structure, or behavior. And you're really good at it. And when you think about doing it, you don't get drained. Like perception never drains me. But if I walk around my house, which right now we're purging, we're doing this big purge, and the kids just started school today, and my neighbor just dropped off bags of clothes for my kids. So it's messy. If I walk around the house and I start thinking about, oh, that needs to go, and that needs to go, and this needs to go, and that needs to go, that wears me right down. I need to come into a perception first in order to create the energy for that. So
can I add something?
Please.
So I watched this video. It's like about an hour. I can send it to you guys. It's another chiropractor who does a lecture that was recorded, and it was really helpful. So he's behavior first. So for him, like he gave the example of the presentation he was doing. He just needs to start doing it. He doesn't need to, like, if he starts thinking about, oh, what should I start with, or what should the timeline be, or how will I do it, that structure, he starts to freak out. So he needs to just start doing. It doesn't really matter what he's doing. Like he sits down on his computer and starts writing. And then as he's doing, it starts to light up his bring energy to the structure. So then he starts being like, oh, this makes sense this way or this way. And then his mindset's good. But if he starts with like thinking too much about the structure, then he just gets freaked out and just total emotional block, or a block. So that I thought that was a good way to think about whether structure or behavior is your keystone.
Yeah, that helps.
Perfect. And that video is a great video. We can put that in the group. Yeah, it's the thing. It just gets everything flowing. So, like, I know he uses the example too that his structure is his drain, but his wife's keystone is structure.
Yeah.
So he can't. So when they work together, they have to come up with a structure to get him. I got distractions walking by. Sorry, guys. The banana going upstairs. They have to come up with a way of creating structure that is his behavior. It gets a little like,
Yeah.
Do it, but thank you, Rebecca. Because so when I walk into a classroom to teach a workshop, I may have no idea what I'm doing, but I walk in some moment, I just get this perception of what to do. And with that comes the structure, like this whole agenda will come in, and then I do it. And that's perception to structure to behavior. I don't have to think about what I'm going to do. It just generates. Do you see that? So what Rebecca was saying, like with this chiropractor, is like, he just starts doing. So if he needs to like, paint his house, he's just going to do it.
Yeah.
He's
I think
not going to
that's
figure.
me, because
And then
if I just do it, I'm good. And if I start thinking about it, then it gets overwhelming. So I think I'm more like the
okay,
behavior. I
so
just need to start
perception.
doing.
Yeah, yeah. So it sounds like behavior is your keystone. And then when does structure come in?
Probably as I'm doing it, and
Does it?
then I'm thinking of like just painting. Like if I just start painting, and then I start like, oh yeah, I'm doing this. Okay, if I do this and that, then it kind of like flows.
So it sounds like your behavior, structure, and then perception, because thinking about it gets in your way.
Yeah, the more I think, the more I think overwhelmed I get, and then I just like, I don't do anything.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like. So
Okay.
I think of this as like an access point to, to getting into the energy. Like we each have one of three, either perception, structure, or behavior. So it sounds like your access point, the way you enter into it, is through behavior. So if perception is your drain, if you start thinking about it, or thinking about what other people think, or doing those things, that's going to drain your energy. So with the business, you need to focus on behavior leading you into structure, and then the perception piece will come. Does that make sense?
Like, yeah. So just basically just pick one thing, just start doing it, and not like think about everything.
Exactly. Don't
like
think
else.
Like you may have like to think, okay, I need to work on this, or I need to improve this, or maybe I need to open up a business page. I'm just throwing out different ideas, or I need to do a website, whatever it is. But you don't want to overthink it. The movement of doing it is what creates the energy for you. It gives you access to that energy.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. And so the perception is when it's going to be your drain.
And I think that's what I'm thriving off, the perception. So then I'm just like, I can't do it.
I know. So I'll tell you, like I was saying, if I walk about, behavior is my drain. So in my head, if I'm going, I got to do this, I got to do this, I got to get this, I got to get this and this and this and this and this, my energy goes like this, right down. So today, I was making snacks for my kids' lunches, and nobody was home, and I got this great idea, perception, for my acupuncture patients. It's a really great idea. This whole structure of a letter, like an email, came through, and then I was like, okay, I can't do it right now. So I'm in perception, I'm in structure, because structure is saying I can't do it right now. Oh, but I can grab my phone and dictate it on my phone, so I have it when it's time. So that was some behavior. So I picked up my phone, I did it. And that was perception into structure into behavior. Okay. But before that, the other piece of this is, before that, this idea, it's around this particular product. And I was kind of thinking, oh, I gotta do that, I gotta get that, oh, I gotta talk to people. That was bringing my energy down. But when I let go of it and said, okay, I'm gonna shift that, perception came in, and I brought my energy up. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I got it more. Yeah.
So
totally, when I think about it that way, like I can see where I'm coming from.
Yeah. So your energy, for increasing your energy, your way to increase your energy is through behavior. Okay.
Right.
Sounds
so
like
that's
it.
what I need to focus on then, just behavior, and then the other stuff should just fall in.
The structure will come in. So just be aware how the structure comes in. The structure can look like anything. It's, that list includes like finances and relationships and all that, but it also can include, like an example I just gave you, like, okay, I can't write that email right now because I'm making banana muffins, but I can pick up my phone and dictate it. So it had structure in there, which is time, saying I'm not going to work on this project right now, but the behavior is, and then generate into behavior, but I can dictate it into my phone, so it's there. And then I wrote it down on my list to do on Wednesday. Okay. Does that make sense?
No, it does. It really does.
So it's where you get fed. Think about it that way. Like for you, behavior is going to move you along. But for me, it's going to sink me over time.
Interesting.
Yeah. Okay. Anybody else?
I'll go.
Okay.
So I think what I posted is basically, I think still unchanged, where I immediately thought I was structured because in a lot of ways it's what I'm good at. It's what jobs I've had, I've created structure. But what I tend to do, and I was saying to Rebecca, I can make this beautiful binder with all the information I need and it just starts gathering dust and I don't really follow through. And it's always been a problem in my head. Like, why can't I follow through? And I thought the biggest aha was that it's more about the perception. It's more about the meaning. When I can figure out the meaning and the purpose behind what I'm doing, it feels much better to me. So writing out the lists, was very helpful. And I noticed that when I was reading through the lists, when I read perception, it was like an inner calm. You know what I mean? It was like, that's what made me feel calm. And so whenever, what I've been working on the last few days is if I feel like I need to get something done and I start to go into my list mode, which has worked for me over the years, but has stressed me out, I go back to how is this going to make me feel? You know, like, why am I really doing this and what's the purpose? And then it makes things much easier. Then I can write a list down and not feel stressed out, and I can actually get something done. So I think perception is the keystone. Structure is prime, and behavior is definitely the drain.
Yeah.
But I think that the coolest thing to me about this whole thing is that instead of like continually beating myself up about behavior or lack of follow through, I'm kind of starting to get it. Like, I get why it's been challenging, and I can kind of redirect and not just have a day where, whoa, I'm so productive, that most days I can get things done.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited about that.
That's great. I can tell you, I'm getting more done this way than I was with going behavior first. Because I'll ask, like, I mean, obviously we all have commitments, things we have to do. I change my perspective, my perception of it. I go into my perception, I see what it is, I shift it. It can be something like, you know, this is really hard, but it will get more comfortable over time. Something like that is a shift in perception. It doesn't have to be like going from 0 to Pollyanna, like everything's going to be perfect and wonderful. Right. It's like saying, you know, this is hard, but it's necessary, and I can do hard things.
Yeah.
You know, and then all of a sudden you're in the energy. It's not about that's what you're experiencing is you get into the energy, and the energy takes you into your prime, and then it carries. And I always think of it like generating, kind of like in 5 elements, or, you know, when we talk about it generates the that's an acupuncture remark. Sorry, it generates the drain. So I actually got more done this afternoon by working on my perception than I would have if I had written down to-do lists or focus on behavior. Mm-hmm. And I'm much calmer. Yeah. Okay. Anybody else? Is this helpful, like talking to different people and going through their... Is it helpful for people?
I'll go. I think so. When we did our call, I was pretty sure I was perception, structure, behavior, like Val. I still think I am that, but what's confusing me a little is that sometimes, like, especially being self-employed, if I'm feeling like I can't get anything done, and I just go and do one thing, and then I get the momentum going. But I do struggle with behavior. So I don't know if maybe I'm changing my perception to get that first thing done. So that's where I'm confused a little, because I do know sometimes, like, if I'm overwhelmed and I just go start in a garden somewhere, then everything kind of flows for the day. So that's why I'm a little confused.
Yeah, and I can see how that's confusing. And it'd be interesting because your keystone can happen in like a microsecond,
Mm.
like in a flash. Like it's not effort. So it'd be interesting for you to watch and just see, well, what made me think to go do something?
I do think I say to myself, you're fine, just go start, do one thing, you know? So maybe I'm changing that perception from overwhelmed, like, oh my God, I have all to do, to,
right,
you got this, just go do one thing kind of thing.
Yeah, and maybe you just know you can, like you said, you know you can change it, and that's perception.
Okay.
I can change this is perception.
Okay.
You know, I have control over this.
Mm.
I can move this. That's all perception.
Okay.
So this, you know, it's interesting talking about the three different things because they all have elements of each other in each other. But the key is not to overthink this. It's not to analyze it and try to make it fit, you know, into some tiny, tiny hole or anything. The key, what I realized over the past couple of years, is just like, you know, it kind of went through my consciousness not. And then when I worked with her on this, I really got why she said I was the way I was, is you already know, because you know, because you experience this. When you feel your best, look and see what is the pattern that's happening here, and don't overthink it. So you're most likely, Rebecca, you're just changing your perception. I can change this. I can do something about this. I'm going to go do something about it. And you just go. Okay. Anybody else?
Yeah, so I'll go if that's okay.
Yeah.
I am like very clearly perception first, structure. If like perception's my keystone, structure's my prime, behavior's my drain. Like Val, I think I said earlier that I thought I was the other way around, and I think for me it's because as soon as that aha perception happens, I'm immediately planning. So for me, it's very like concurrent almost. And I get the concept. I guess I don't completely understand how to apply it to, say, the business. Like I see, like at work, like my boss gives me a task and I can't just start doing it. First I have to plan it, but before I even plan it, I have to understand it in my own mind. So I totally see that's perception. I need to perceive what he wants. I need to understand it, and then I immediately plan it, and then I do it. But I don't know how to apply that to my business. Like the perception is so instinctual that I can't figure out how to make it work.
Yeah, that's like the big question, right? How to use it.
Right.
So as a perception person, for me, it was, I'll share with some ways and let me walk you through it. It's the only way I know is to give examples. So I hope I don't get example fatigue, okay? Trying to hit on one that gets you. I just, one day, I was thinking, oh, I want my business to be truly, truly authentic. I'm not a six-pack coach, you know? I love this business, find my niche. And then the perception, and that's the perception, you can kind of ask the question. I find asking questions very empowering. Like, how do I do this? Just kind of put it out there, because it will come back to you, whether it's in the next moment or a longer time later. Like, how do I do this? What do I need to do? What do I need to look at? And I just kind of put it out there, and all of a sudden it just all came to me was sugar detox groups, you know, perimenopause groups, working with people in certain ways. I don't get into it. And so it shifted my perception. So now when I go and I look at the next few months and writing down my groups and planning them out, I have the strong resistance to management of it. So I step back in my perception and say, you know what, this can be uncomfortable to do this, but it's going to be so worth it to get it done. Okay. And I can do this. So it's looking at why are you doing what you're doing? What is it you truly desire to do? What do you feel like doing? Like, I love running the sugar detox groups, you know, but maybe asking yourself those questions, like, what do I really want to do with this? What do I love? What would I love to do? What feels good to me?
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Because perception includes feelings. Okay. Right. So and then because this business, and we know this, is so big now, you don't have to run challenge groups to do well in this business. you know, for some people, you know, Bob Lucido has never run a challenge group.
Huh.
Okay.
Right.
And I'm not saying don't run them. If you want to run them and that works in your rhythm, in your business,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and that's a behavior and a structure that works for you, great. But if it's not, then stop going into, you know, what is it that you want to be doing? What feels really good to you? What lights you up? Because there's so much room in this business for everyone and everything. You could just do a whole, Renee St. Pierre Teller. She's under Bob Lucido. She's like a 12-star diamond coach. She runs her entire business on Ultimate Reset.
Wow.
That's what she does. That's her passion. She's a holistic practitioner. She's had in Holistic Center forever. And that's how she does it.
Okay, so just start going. See, I guess one of my problems is that the thing I struggle with the most is one of our vital behaviors. And it's because I don't, it's not that I don't perceive the value, but I don't know. So I'm going to keep working on my perception of that and figure it out now that I know how to.
Yeah, and even figure out, like, you know, one of my problems is, well, I'm just going to find a solution to it. You know? Okay. Yes, Rebecca, great. Thank you. I'm going to find a solution to this. And your solution can look different than any other coach. Okay. So
okay. I love it. I love this. I love this thought process. I like looking at it like this. So this is going to be helpful. Thank you.
Oh, good. 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 Oh, you're welcome. I'll tell you what I like about this. It's happy and it's shiny for everybody. Do you know what I mean? You know, like in astrology, there's a couple of signs that people go, oh yeah, those blah, blah, blah. They're always like, you know, trouble in this or that. Do you know what I'm saying? This, what I love about this is like, it's accessible to everybody. It's just it's you connecting to that, whatever you want to call it, just pure energy, source, divinity, whatever it is for you, that just flows. And like, we all have you can think of it as a rhythm, a method, a way to access this energy, this creativity, this genius. Everybody has it. You just got to find that point and then start working your mind that way, you know. And you also can look and see, like, I'm going to be honest, like, I haven't said this too much lately, but one of the reasons I ended up in bed was I was in behavior too much. And it caused physical pain over a long period of time. It just drained my energy. It's one of the pieces of it. And I literally can be in a place now, I'm so aware what's going on in my body, where if I start to go into behavior, like I gotta get this done, I feel pain in my body. I feel those places start to kick in. You know, but if I go into perception and work it, and which is like effortless, my energy increases and my body feels better. So, but just know, this is something I just want to say to the whole team, and I know we say this all the time, is this business is so big and broad now. There is a niche for every single person to do it in a way that is really aligned with what you love. And thanks, Rebecca. And you know what fits for you. You know, okay. All right. So Kara's gonna go. All right. Kara, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm still kind of sort of working through everything. I know my keystone is structure, because I know that I'm at my house, and like I know what I have to do. I mean, like, there's systems, because otherwise I'm the creative type, so if I tend to have like too many options or too many different methods, I tend to get overwhelmed and not, know which one. It's the reason why I don't have Pinterest anymore. So I know that my keystone is structure. The other two, I sort of went, I don't want to say back and forth. It didn't feel like completely cut and dried. I felt like they could sort of segue. I know that's not how this works, so I'm still sort of working through that. But I believe that my prime is perception. Like sometimes I care what people think as much as I like to preach that I don't. Sometimes I care what people think, but other times it doesn't really faze me. I think it might have to do with like what the subject matter pertains to, since I'm still sort of working through like grade school instances where I like feeling isolated because of my ears and stuff like that. So I sometimes feel like I'm, a couple of light years behind everybody else. So I sometimes care about it, but I sometimes don't. And sometimes it bothers me when people do or don't do things. I know I spend too much time focusing on, like what other people are doing or aren't doing. And I know that's like not ideal. And I think that my drain is behavior. Like, stop. Like if I get in the flow and I'm doing things and things are flowing, I'm going well, like I'm okay, I'm good. But when I'm out of that, like I'm either good or I'm not good. Like there's really like no middle ground with that. I'm either, it's working for me or it's working against me. And so I think that structure my keystone and my behavior and drain. My drain is behavior, and my prime is my perception. My prime is perception.
Awesome. When you do a structure, when you put together a plan, something organized, what comes right after that, like in your experience? What happens?
Right. I found that and then stuff like the gap tracking when you do all that stuff, and I even printed out the savers. When you do a structure and put together, usually action. I'm going with I'm not, I don't sit around and fret like should I. I usually when I set my mind that I want to do something, I'm good at, taking the necessary action. It just sort of gets a little bit muddled sometimes if I get overwhelmed, like worrying about what people think or worrying about, I still have bouts of self-doubt that sometimes sort of gloss over it.
Because it sounds like to me, your structure, behavior, and then perception.
Structure, behavior, and then perception.
Yeah.
So
because it's what I heard was you put together a plan and then you start doing it.
Right. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. And then what I heard was, and we all go through this wherever you are in perception, okay? But with perception, that you try not to think about what other people think of you, and get caught up in it and get really overwhelming, all of that. To me, something says perception is your drain.
Oh, okay, interesting.
Because,
like I said, I told you I wasn't like.
Yeah, and yeah.
Like, could be this, it could be that. Could be that.
And it takes a while, but Carrie, you're the only one who's going to know, and just play with it. So when you create a structure, just watch and see what happens immediately afterwards.
Right.
If you go right into doing it, then it's behavior.
And the action.
Yeah.
I got the structure and then I got the action. I get distracted. I find something to sidetrack me. I let something sidetrack me. Like I'm still working on television, and I've come back. It's something or someone or something comes up. Like life throws you a curveball and just drains me of all of that, and so I sort of take a hard right and veer off. When I veer off track from like Rebecca's helped me, and Rebecca's helped me go with the flow a lot more. But I'm never gonna be 100% go with the flow. My happy place is basically like when I know what I need to do and what I can do and what will help me. So it's like more of finding the balance. But there are often times where something will distract me.
Yeah. Yeah. If it sounds like it's structure is your keystone, behavior is your prime, and perception is your drain. But you play with it and just see, none of this has to be, you don't have to figure this out right now.
Right.
You have plenty of time to figure it out and play with it, and see. Okay. So, okay. Good. Okay. Okay. So I know tonight there's some comments about when I posted about fear. So what happens when you go into fear is we immediately go into fight or flight response, and we go into our drain. If we go into our drain first, it's usually because we're in fear. I said that kind of weird, but going into fear puts us in a fight or flight response, which puts us into our drain. So if I'm in, I got to do this, I got to do this, I got to do this because behavior is my drain, I'm probably in fear. Okay? I'm probably in fear. So what I want to do is shift out again and go into my keystone, which is perception. And say, oh, for me, what I've been learning to do is, and I'm new at this too. So, I'm not a master at this. I'll say, oh, that's so interesting. Well, I'm going to go and change the way I think about this because I know that being in behavior just drains me. And I want to be in my keystone. That's what I've been doing. So I go into perception.